Now the next things I've done to the turret around this injury are to put some crack lines into the armour. So hopefully once that's painted up, we'll go over this and then get some silver edging in there so that it looks like the cracked open metal. But then also there was this little hatch of some description, I don't know what that's for, but because that's melted in where I've bent the armour there, I thought I'd better make it clearer that that has kind of come loose in the distortion, so I've just used a craft knife in there to cut away so that you'll be able to see through. Now obviously I need to leave it connected somewhat. I might just try and leave it connected down at the bottom and take out this top bit. Not sure quite how they worked. I've not seen any detail of that in any books or anything I've looked at. But anyway, again, it's not about absolute belief, it's about suspension of disbelief. So hopefully this will all look reasonably authentic once we get painting on it. So there's what I've done on that main hull. I'm kind of slightly feeling that I may have overdone these marks, but hopefully once they're painted they won't be, well, they won't look quite like this, so I'm hopeful that this will still look alright. I appear to have, with the heat, I've kind of damaged the back of that light, so I might have to see if I can bend that back somehow, or I might just end up having some blowback damage on that from the impact. I guess that would make some sense. So I might have to do some work on these little hatches. I don't know whether they are actually hatches or just little bolted on panels, but might have to do something on those. Just so that they've not deformed in quite the same way as the rest, but I might get away with that. Might get away with it. So what I'm doing here is just trying to score out this hatch, because the moulding of these hatches is a bit poor, to be honest, by Henglong's moulding standards. The edge is very ill defined, so especially because of this distortion from this impact, I want the hatch to clearly be affected slightly differently. So I'm just running a craft knife along in the groove and just scoring this out, making it a bit more defined, and then I may well sprise it up a little bit so it's as if it's sprung. So I've heated this hatch underneath and held it up so it looks like it's been distorted and sort of blasted open. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the Dremel to just cut through in between these armour plates on the track guards. Okay, trim that off after. Make sure you're always wearing some sort of eyewear if you're using something like this. Now that we've cut these slots, the goal is just to clean up all this off-cut material. you know, the burrs that have come out when you've used that little saw. Most of those will just snap off, and then you can just clean the gap between those panels, trim it all down nicely. You want to try and leave yourself a nice sharp edge on it, as they are metal panels. You might need to do some from the inside, some from the outside. They're not going to be, I'm saying they're not going to be perfect. It depends how much time you put into it. I'm not going to put ridiculous amounts of time in, because I think overall it's just, well, it's not what I'm doing it for. I want the idea. If people want to inspect, they can inspect, but I just want it to look nice, give you the right idea of a little bit more detail without going crazy. So if there's some things that aren't quite straight, some things that aren't quite cut out as well as you might want, it doesn't bother me so much, because that, I think, is probably good enough. I think once painted, that will give the impression of two panels with a cut in between. There we go. Those ones just broke off really easily. An extra, probably should have gone a bit deeper up there, but I can work that out with the knife. But overall, you're getting the right idea just from those. The hatch got rough edges, so I'll just clean those up a bit, ready for those to be painted. Again, they don't need to be, I'm not worrying about the contours that you would have. I think it will look like an armoured plate, and that's all that really matters to me.